Hello, I'm Neil Sheth.
And I'm Katy Holmes, and this is Don't Do That, Do This podcast, bringing stories of growth and success and some failures in the Middle East to you.
Today, we're speaking with Ramy Jallad, who is the Group CEO of Khaimah Economic Zone, RAKEZ. Under his leadership, RAKEZ has grown into one of the largest, fastest growing economic zones in the region, supporting thousands of companies from around the world. We're going to be learning about how he's done this.
It's a really interesting episode, and I know I say this all the time, but do follow and subscribe for all of our episodes, and I'm sure you'll enjoy this one.
This podcast wouldn't have been possible without the following teams. Rightfully for storytelling and thought leadership, Studio Red for the quality podcast studio and video production, and Sherbet Lemon for branding, social media design and editing. Ramy, excited to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. Really, it's a pleasure to be here.
And we've all raced across town for this. We had a business briefing this morning working with RAKEZ on sustainability and showcasing the amazing development of Khaimah. So I feel like I'm completely up to speed, but for the benefit of our followers and listeners, we're going to go into greater detail on your role at RAKEZ, Khaimah, and just your story and the plans for the future.
Great. I mean, I'm always happy to talk about Khaimah, and that's really what excites me the most.
So before we talk about RAK and RAKEZ, let's talk about you. Let's start with your journey to becoming the CEO of RAKEZ. Where did you start? We know we're just talking in the pre-interview, you've been in the region for a very long time, but if you can just share your story, that'd be awesome.
Well, this is home. The UAE is home to me. I know nothing else. This is really everything to me. Me, my family, my boys. I was brought up here. I have ever since childhood. So this is home. My journey started really by emulating my dad and what he was doing and seeing how he strived through corporate cultures and his own business and teaching me that perseverance and hard work and doing things right is the way to go. This was many, 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 many years ago. And I've taken that really in my own personal journey. Studied in different countries, went to university. I'm an engineer by nature. I'm also studied business and engineering. So I built stuff with my own hands. I know how to plan things, structure things, join the dots and cross the T's. And I take that really with a lot of pride in what I do. I've learned the hard way, and I've been in engineering, construction, on site at 50-degree temperatures. So I've seen what that means. I've worked for great companies in my experience, all the way from Shell Oil Company, and then embarked on this investment and FDI attraction journey in the UAE, working and privileged to be working with the likes of Dubai Holding, TCOM, Abu Dhabi airports, setting up the free zone there, and really where I am today in terms of driving and developing and attracting investment to the beautiful Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah under our leadership. So that's really my journey, and some key things that I know that got me to where I am is what I said earlier, that come from the teachings and the learnings that I saw my dad, who passed away, really give me in terms of perseverance and hard work, and take care of the business, and everything else would take care of itself. That's really how it goes, and never quit, and always try to improve and learn. No matter what you do, just keep on learning and learning and learn from others, he used to tell me. And I'm like a sponge. I love to learn and see, because it's never a journey on your own. It's all about relationships and what you can show, what you can do. And you need to continuously learn everything that you need to do and show.
And we're here to learn from you today. So we're being a sponge. Before we start the learning, though, for those that don't know too much about RAKEZ, could you just explain what RAKEZ is?
I mean, RAKEZ is a super powerhouse of free zones and economic zones for the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah. Today, we're more than 25,000 companies, all the way from startups, SMEs, traders, manufacturers, in 150 different types of industries, investors and entrepreneurs and specialists coming from 100 different countries. We're a hub for businesses that set up to either bridge west and east or north and south and really promote their products globally, manufacture, trade, service, and also start their businesses if they are on all the way from a shoestring budget to really a multinational corporate or manufacturing entity. We provide all of the services as an economic zone, all the way from the business centers that our SMEs work from, the offices, the blue collar, white collar, staff accommodation, residential aspect. We provide the warehousing, the storage, the logistics. We provide industrial land for manufacturers. So we're an economic zone that really creates the right ecosystem and then provides services to our investors or our companies so that they can plug and play and get on with their business. And really, then that doesn't stop there. We actually support them to grow. Today, we are very much engaged with every single one of our businesses, whether they're a small SME or they're a large manufacturer, through networking events, through creating a marketplace, through introductory meetings, through sourcing supply chain to and from our businesses by introducing them together. We have continual events that really we've seen strengthening and growing the businesses, because from our leaders' philosophy, there's no point in being if you come to RAKEZ and you don't succeed or you don't make money and you don't grow, then we're not doing our job properly.
And in terms of the demographics, the types of companies that you're attracting, I know there's so diverse, 25,000 companies. So have you seen over the years a change in those sectors that are coming?
Yeah, I mean, we've all gone through COVID and we've seen how things have changed. Obviously, the world is changing very quickly. And you can see that there's a bigger reliance on technology. Huge interest in lifestyle and personal care, healthcare. After going through all of what we saw during COVID, has taken off. E-commerce is very big. Obviously, every product, everything is on some kind of a market platform or buying, selling an e-commerce platform today. And definitely manufacturing and supply chain. So today, one thing that I believe manufacturers have learned is that you can't put your eggs all in one basket. And with lockdowns and closures and logistics, you can see that manufacturers are spreading out to have different hubs in different countries or geographical areas so that they can get product to market much quicker and also customize it. So I've seen a big increase in that. And we were ready. It's not only that. And during the clients now rely more on using digital platforms and communicating with us through portals and online. And before even COVID, we were working in RAKEZ to make sure that the way we communicate with clients, the way we communicate with investors is gone digital even before everybody was doing their digital transformation.
Trailblazing. So do you think sustainability is playing a big part in the driving the manufacturing and the made in the UAE vision as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it starts really from our leadership. It starts from the ministries in the UAE with the Ministry of Industry and Advanced Technology, Ministry of Economy. It's on the agenda, obviously, with having all of the leadership committed to 2050 net zero. You can see that we're all in that space. But it's not only what we are doing to ensure that our building regulations, our ecosystems, our infrastructure is ready to adapt and ready to cater to sustainability initiatives. It's also the educational part. It's also the part where we are seeing as well that today companies decide that they want to only buy and purchase products from companies that have ESG in the forefront of their um, uh, corporate agendas or their strategies. European companies, American companies, they look through their supply chain to make sure that the material that they use is sustainable, whether it is workers' rights or whether it's green materials or even talking about eco-friendly materials. So yes, I see that every day. Even today, when new companies come to set up their manufacturing, part of our regulations is to inspect that they've got an ESG strategy as well and are complying with what Ras Al Khaimah has, which are we call the Bargil building standards, which today is really growing, and it's a few notches above really the international standard. So yeah, I see a lot more of ESG being in supply chain, in even when we speak to companies that want to relocate from Asia or from the United States or from Europe, they ask us about our ESG strategy. They ask us about our sustainability initiatives because they have that principle and those values now embedded in not only where they want to go, but also in the commitment that they want to get from their suppliers, their vendors, and anybody that they is a strategic stakeholder with them.
So earlier you talked about having loads of events, building that community. I can confirm I was part of the growth series in RAKEZ as well, which was fun. I was actually surprised when I first walked in to the Compass building, I think, and I was like, wow, this is actually a nice co-working space. And I took loads of pictures and I took a video as I walked around and I sent it to my community. I was like, why doesn't ours look like this? So I love the environment, but on that same theme, there's a number of free zones within the UAE, right? There's no shortage of free zones. So what outside of that community and that feeling and the events and obviously the sustainability angle, what else really are you guys doing to help RAKEZ to stand out?
Well, yes, there are 40 plus free zones in the UAE. I think we differentiate ourselves in a few areas that really we are key for us in terms of what makes us different. Ras Al Khaimah in general is a very cost-effective destination, let's say. So we focus on cost effectiveness. Today you can start a business all the way from a shoestring budget in the co-working that you came, all the way to a manufacturing in an industrial zone, but it's in a more cost-effective ecosystem. So that's one of the areas that differentiates us. The other one is really the customer experience. Today, we're second to none. We really drive customer experience. And it's not only what we say, it's how we engage with our clients, how we take their feedback, how we implement what they need. We study the personas of our clients. We ask them before we launch products, what do you need? What are we doing wrong? We have these focus groups, and we really take it to heart to make sure that we are there for the customer and what they need. And we build our products around what the customer needs. Build as you go, for example. It's not package A, package B, or package C. Different kinds of investors from different parts of the world think of business in very different ways. So we need to adapt to the cultural varieties out there, or the differences, the nuances. Another point is we customize everything. So today, if I'm talking to, as I said earlier, it's not a package. It's true customization to allow our clients to start off in a co-working, move on to a larger office, move on to take a warehouse, move on to take a land if they want to grow and build their own facilities. So we customize. I can tell you in the industrial space or in the big larger space, not two customers have the same offer. It's within parameters, but it depends on what the customer needs. So we pride ourselves on customization. And it takes a lot of hard work, by the way, to customize things. It's easy to sell A, B, or C. But when you truly customize things, it means we dig deep into what makes the customer successful, what makes him click, how he operates. And going back to that leadership philosophy is that if you're coming and you're not going to do well, then we're not doing our job right. So we really take it at heart to make sure that we are working very closely. And look, we've got more than 25,000 customers in RAKEZ. One of my mandate or the challenge that I've given by my leadership is to know everybody on a first name basis. How's well going? So that's going very well, by the way. And that's showing you really the attitude that we want, where we truly are creating relationships.
Yeah.
We know our customers. Myself, I'm out there in the field. I'm out there in the field with my team. I'm out there, and that's another thing that I took from my, learning experiences. I've got to be out there, walking the walk, talking the talk, supporting my team. I'm not sitting in an office. I'm out there understanding what the customers need and then reflecting that back in our strategy, in our business, and our products and our services. So it takes a lot of hard work. These are some of the things that I can tell you that differentiate us. And the more important aspect is the good people that we have on board. You can't do this alone. You need great people who have the same philosophy, who believe in customer experience, who believe in going the extra mile, who believe that they're doing something good for Ras Al Khaimah by doing good for our clients.
Yeah. Going internationally, which is something you and the team are doing a lot. Following you on LinkedIn, your coverage is so impressive. Is that new, or is it something that is there just the more demand now for more in
A bit of both. We've always been out there.
Yeah.
And it's all about strengthening the brand. And it's all about the demand that we're getting. Obviously, with those value propositions that I mentioned, our audience is getting bigger. People are want to know more about RAKEZ. And there's a lot out there. And building the team has helped a lot. But it's all about new business as well. It's part of FDI attraction, which I think we do fantastically. There's a lot more to do in that space. We're just scratching the surface. I wish I had a larger team to be able to go to different areas. But in our strategy, going back to strategy formulation, we've identified industries, we've identified which countries, we've identified who are the biggest trade partners of the UAE and who wants to be part in this region and who would benefit the most. So it is a calculated, strategized action plan that we put into place. And again, you see us because we make a lot of effort to showcase our brand and to show that what we have in terms of value propositions. And obviously, PR is great.
Absolutely.
Today, if we heard today that if we're not, in order to really showcase what we're doing in sustainability, we've got to talk more about it and highlight rather than, and that's one way that we ensure that a lot of our leads, our prospects know more and more about us.
And staying on international, you receive a lot of trade missions, inbound trade missions, and you're following obviously the relationships with the UAE. But are there any countries that have surprised you with real enthusiasm to come and set up in Ras Al Khaimah?
Well, we ride off the back of the UAE, really, and they do this so well. I mean, the UAE is #1 destination for FDI attraction in the region, and I don't know what's the statistics, if not, but definitely our association with all the business groups and with all the associations, the multipliers, the embassies, the commercial attaché offices, inbound and outbound delegations is exposure, is showing what we can do for the businesses that come from those countries. So we have great relationships. We're always engaged with our partners, our multipliers, our associations, to encourage them to promote us to the business communities in those countries or under the membership of those associations. And I think we're like I said, word of mouth is very strong, sometimes more so than just PR. But having all of our channels open to how we communicate and how we spread the word and how we promote our value propositions is very important. And I believe that the relationship with the associations is uh, key to, even if nothing comes out of it, really, it's really knowing what's out there to give investors a choice. Because today, let's face it, investors are shopping around.
Yeah.
There's so much choice and there's so much clutter at the same time. So how do you ensure that you're dealing with the right entity, you're dealing with the legitimate parties, you're really saying what it's like, you're using the proper channels, and you've got the credibility as well by showing and working with associations and working with the business groups that promote you once they have and learn about the success stories that come from their partners and their members.
Mhm.
So, as you know, the podcast is very much about growth stories, and you were talking about success stories just now. Earlier, you talked about having your targeted action plan, and a number of businesses that are going to be listening to this are, they're in the region and they're going, how do we take things to the next level? And they look at what RAKEZ is doing and the growth, and they're like, how do we emulate that? Maybe 10% or 20% of that growth is good enough. So for those listening in, can we download your brain around how you think about your targeted action plan and growth, and what elements can a small business kind of copy and paste and apply to their business?
Well, a business plan or a strategy isn't a business plan or a strategy if you don't know what you have to sell to market
Mm.
and you haven't already decided what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
That you back it with some data, you back it with market research and research and research to make sure that you're going to be able to promote, sell, market, provide a service that industry, people, the market needs. A lot of startups fail because at the end of the day, it's a great idea. They're very passionate about something, but does it work? Does it sell? Do people want this service? Do people want this product? So you've got to do a lot of research in the background and make sure that you're doing something that can be monetized by being sellable, whether it's a service or a product or a widget. So I think that's something that we put into our planning. What is our value proposition? What is it that people need? What is it that businesses need? What does an SME need? What does a manufacturer need? What does a logistics company need? What are the enablers? What makes them successful? Do we have it in our ecosystem? Can we provide it? Let me give you an example. One of the things through this brainstorming, through this innovative approach or putting together a business plan or a strategy is that we recognize that a lot of them want plug and play solutions. They don't want to deal with the bank account. They don't want to deal with, they want somebody to take all of that administrative stuff away from them. We created a value added services department. We even have a concierge service right now that you can get flowers, babysitting, car bookings, hotels, and taking that administrative stuff away from small SMEs, accounting packages, bank account opening. And I know a lot of people are doing that, but we base it on what the different levels of our customers need. And that's what makes it successful. So I don't know if I'm answering your
No,
question.
you are actually, because because I love your approach to customer experience when you're talking about it before, where you make it all about the customer.
Yes.
And then also when we were talking to your team, the first thing they said is, let's put together a market research survey.
Yes.
And that's the first time I've had that conversation.
Yeah.
And I love that, because ultimately if you're just selling something you want, then how do you know it's going to go anywhere? Right?
50-50.
Yeah, it's 50-50. It's probably even less, right?
Yeah, maybe even less. But it's very important to do that. And that's my advice, really, after all of these years, my gray hair. I can see that really things succeed when you have something to give an offer to somebody that needs it. And that's the same thing in business. And we put a lot of emphasis in, and we continually dig down and do the deep dives to understand the behaviors, the needs by focus groups, by our data analytics. We're a very data driven organization, by the way, today. And today, the data that we have is there for many things: to understand our customers' habits, to understand what they need, to understand what products move, what don't move. But it's also to understand the behaviors and what we can innovate and what we can produce later on. And we have many, through our leadership, focus groups, innovation, differentiation workshops, to make sure that we are out there and we are in the blue ocean, as they say, sphere,
Mhm.
while we're perfecting also the services and the products that our customers need today. So you never forget about innovation and differentiation and doing the next step, because if you're on the top, the only way to go is down. And you need to stay there. So you need to continuously innovate. And it's a difficult job to do.
Talking about challenges, I mean, the role you have, it's the legacy that you will leave with this Russell Khaimah creation. I mean, it's just, we can share the presentation slides probably for anyone to kind of see the scale of the plans that are around from the coastline inland. What are the challenges that you're facing in building this people-centric city?
They are challenges, but they're good challenges. There are many opportunities, and the business is growing at a rapid pace. Under our leadership's direction, we also, a while back, recognized that there was a lagging effect when it came to livability.
Mm.
Where do people live if they're coming to establish businesses and want to grow? And, you know, we've got 25,000 plus companies. The economic department has so much more. People are coming to live in Ras Al Khaimah. We're a hotspot for tourism and hotels and beach resorts. But livability was a little bit lagging behind. And we did many studies, as what I just mentioned, and surveys, and we put a strategy together to improve livability and catch up with the demand that's there. It's a good problem to have, but you really need to plan it right. It's all about urban planning. It's all about real estate development. It's different tiers of real estate that you need: apartments, villas, different budgets, different locations, doing it in a sustainable way, including sustainability, green initiatives. So we embarked in the last 2 years. I recall we've been working on a livability strategy for Ras Al Khaimah with, as a under the leadership of our investment development office and His Highness, where all stakeholders got together to pitch in and take their part in this strategy development and then strategy implementation. So everybody's taken their piece of ownership for what livability means, whether our Ras Al Khaimah Department of Knowledge, our academic zone, attracting more schools, different curriculums, the Department of Knowledge as putting in a proper quality assurance and assessment criteria for the type of schools, type of universities that we need to keep up with the demand. My colleagues in the Al Marjan Development, which is a real estate development arm of the government of Ras Al Khaimah, building more residential units, building more communities for the future within our 2030 vision. We heard today there's the beach district. There's a very big project for building the new downtown of Ras Al Khaimah. We're all part of that. My colleagues in the tourism authority working with different hotels and keys. I think we've already got 8,000 plus keys. We're building 9,000 plus keys now. They're very busy at bringing and attracting more hotels. So all of that is actually myself under our leadership and my colleagues sitting around one table putting the strategy together and each one taking ownership.
Hmm.
And then we're not only ownership, but then we're held accountable, and we've got KPIs, and we've got steercos, and we've got many excos and boards that supervise to make sure that we're implementing what we said we would implement and provide the corrective direction if things change. So, but let's keep in mind that all of this is plans, all of this is being implemented, but it's very important to know how to maneuver. So we're always keeping our eyes on being nimble and agile at the same time, because markets change.
Well, I'm definitely sold on the idea and the ambitions. If there's a great off plan coming up, please do share it with me and Katy.
Up to the guys in the real estate, all the way from Alhambra Real Estate, Properties, Al Marjan Properties. If you see today, the boom in real estate in Ras Al Khaimah is humongous. And everybody, I think, in the real estate area is talking about RAK and all of the off sales that's happening. But today we saw reality, because we showed that they're actually being built, they're being developed.
These things happening.
These things happening.
So for entrepreneurs listening, I think it was really nice, like pre-interview, where you talked about balancing patience and planning.
Yeah.
So can you just talk about that, how you've done that, and what they can learn from that concept?
Well, planning is, you got to plan. You have to plan. You have to put a plan. And patience is really where sometimes the plan doesn't come to fruition immediately. And sometimes it's the wrong plan. So on the one side, you have to be agile and nimble to change things and to change the course, to mitigate risks. But if you do proper planning in the beginning, it's very important that you also look at the timing of things. How long is it going to take you to develop this plan? What are going to be the priorities that you need to put? What are the building blocks? What do you need to do first before you need to do the second thing? And make sure that you are studying the impact of time. There are quick wins. There are things that you need to do now because everybody wants to make money. There's revenues. There's bills to pay. So what do you do first to make sure that you're going to be able to sustain that plan that you've put into place? So that's what I mean by patience. You have alternative strategies. You have, is this something that you truly believe in? Have you done the market research? Have you done that effort so that you know that you've got a very good likely that it's going to materialize? And then you got to wait it out. You've got to keep with the patience, the perseverance, to make sure that you're implementing that plan and not getting too worried about things didn't show up from day number one. Many times I've been caught in a situation where we've launched a new product. You sit there, you wait, and nothing's happening. You sit there, you wait, and nothing happening. And you're hearing other people say, you know what, we've got to pull the plug. We've got to pull the plug on this. We've got to do something different. And then all of a sudden, things, it's like a horse race. The gates open, and then all of a sudden everybody's buying this product. You've done your marketing, you've done your promotions, you've gone on your road shows, you've done all of the efforts in terms of promotions, and you've networked with the right people, and then it's just the floodgates open. So that's what I mean when I say patience sometimes pays off.
That is a very good example of when timing comes in and something you can't really plan for. You talked before around culture. And leadership. You've mentioned leadership as well. How important is in your recruitment? And it's a common theme that we have with other guests, is that sometimes there's been mistakes made in recruitment, or there's no mistakes. You've just had a really strong recruitment strategy. What's yours?
Over the years, I've learned what is the proper recruitment strategy and what is not a proper recruitment strategy, and what are the type of personas and people you want to have on your team. Yes, but at the same time, you don't know until somebody's in the driving seat. But we have a very strong recruitment criteria. And a lot of it has to do with not necessarily experience or technical capability. There are two things that you really need to balance is the technical capability, but then the passion and the personal capability and the personal soft skills that people have. And I believe very much strongly in that more than the technical capability in some instances. In some jobs, if you're a doctor, you're an engineer, okay, you really need the technical skills. But then again, if you're talking about other areas in marketing, in research, in analytics, well, not to undermine the technical requirements for those other jobs, but definitely we've got people with passion, with perseverance, with positive attitude, with customer centricity, because that's one of our values, customer centricity. So obviously it's very high in the scale of when we look at and who we hire and when we recruit. So we've got a point system depending on the job, depending on the job criteria in terms of what are the competencies that we expect to have in that particular role. And we look for them and we actually ensure that nobody comes on board unless they tick the boxes in those areas. But even with that, we're human beings. The aspect that makes it work or not, in my opinion, is the relationship, is the attitude, and how leadership interacts. You've got to walk the walk, talk the talk, lead by example. I believe in top down, but I also believe in a relationship that is bottom up. Holding people accountable, giving them the space, holding their hands. There are many different leadership styles as well, and there's not one single leadership style. You've got to use the leadership styles with same person, but different ones at different times in the relationship, in the maturity. Or you've got to use them in times of when you want to make a decisive decision, there's a leadership style. When you have a workshop and when you have an open forum or an open door policy as well, then you have a different leadership style. So leaders are very important to ensure that they are leading by example. And as well, leading by example is a huge responsibility because it is not just verbal. You've got to show it. You've got to do it. You've got to be there. If my team is out there till 12 o'clock at night working, I'm there till 12 o'clock at night working, as an example. And I get the pizza, for everybody. But these are what I mean by saying that getting the right people on board. And I can assure you that at RAKEZ, we have the best team. Not only because we brought on the right people on board, but also we had the team there from a long time ago. It's the culture that we build. It's the engagement that we strive to have with our team. It's the open door policy. It's the fact that when they see leaders, managers, supervisors doing the work that they can do or they're supposed to do, when they see that they're going the extra mile to take care of the client, and this is something that trickles down from our leadership as well, those values, those principles, then it becomes much easier for them to do the same and to act the same and to fit within that culture.
This reminds me of a story my friend told me. He said he was working in a large consulting company and he was there about 9 o'clock. And then his manager said, "Hey, I'm just going to go to the gym. I'll see you guys at 11. And at that moment, he just thought, yeah, this isn't for me. So that story just came up to mind. And I can see your passion. And I really like when you said earlier, I'm walking the field. So you're walking.
I'm out there with my team.
You're out there. So as we close out the interview, what advice would you give to someone who's looking to start a business or set up their business in the UAE? And this is slightly putting things on a plate for you to talk about RAKEZ, but also
So we'll start
outside
it at RAKEZ and we'll help you out. No, look. Obviously, I'm wearing the RAKEZ hat. I think one of the businesses is to really ensure that you're talking to the right people, and then firstly, make sure that you're setting up the business with what you need. And you're talking, many people come here to the UAE and, with all due respect, are looking around and they're being misadvised. So make sure that your advice or your circle, whoever is advising you, is giving you the facts. We have a very consultative approach to anybody wanting to open a business. We want to understand their business. We advise them. We tell them what's best. We give them what they need. Again, I go back to that customization where you need somebody who's saying, let me see if I can do this for you. Let me see. You don't need this. You don't need that. It's not always about, uh, giving the most expensive package because it's going to fail.
Mhm.
So you need the right advice. I think you need to look around, right advice, look at the right ecosystem, look at where is your target audience? Where is your market? How do you want to um, operate? So, meaning, do your homework and make sure that you are being properly advised. I think secondly is just, start having a scalable approach in mind. A lot of people make a mistake. They come and they say, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. And they open something and they take huge facilities and everything rather than, and maybe less so now because everybody's on a budget and everybody, is really concerned about uh, the finances. And so I believe that all I'm saying is that ensure that you understand the market, be properly advised, do things in phases, if that really helps. Even large corporations and big companies do things. I think they do even more things in phases than smaller SMEs. When an SME starts, he starts with whatever he has. A big corporate will come in most of the night when I'm sitting down with corporates. I say, okay, we'll start with this first, and then, so they phase it. They know that's better to phase it for their cash flows, for everything else. So, but I go back to the advice I gave earlier. Make sure that you're getting involved in something that has a marketplace and can be monetized, and you're very passionate about it, because there's always going to be ups and downs, and there's always going to be that area of that patience that you have to have so that you can persevere.
Thank you so much, Ramy. Wishing you the best of luck with the continued global domination.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time. And for anybody listening that wants to reach out, we can facilitate that introduction.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope I've been able to share some of the insights and experience with the audience.
Definitely have. Thank you. Thanks, Ramy.